this is just a few glimpses, historical glimpses of what the candy store looked like at various times. This one features my D-Type XKD 528, which I had for a little over 21 years, I believe. The most beautiful car I've ever owned, and also the worst to drive, except in a straight line. In a straight line, it was phenomenal. 0 to 60 time was 4.5 seconds, I think. This is in 1955. But I raced it several times at Laguna Seca, and have vivid memories of doing multiple 360-degree rotations in turn 11, coming out of turn 11, which is a very scary thing to have, see the world go by 3 times. But in terms of appearance, you know, spectacular. Enzo Ferrari said it was the most beautiful car in the world. He was talking about the E-Type, but it's basically the same car, both designed by Malcolm Sayer, who joined Jaguar from the British aircraft industry, where he designed aircraft bodies, and that started a whole trend in Jaguar design, which continues to the present. Okay, next slide. All right, here's another shot from a little later. The car in the foreground is my Hageman Jag, 55 Hageman Jag, built here in the Bay Area around, well, from 53 to 55. Most of the mechanicals were copied from C-Type because during the construction, the D hadn't arrived yet. And body by Jack Hageman, who was one of the most prolific body car designers ever. And it really did some spectacular one-off cars. And this is a one-off. All aluminum body, handcrafted, really spectacular looking car. Very Italian from the side and from the front. Reminiscent of Ferrari Monza or Mondial. From the back, very British, more like a Bristol. And so if you can tell, just forward of the side vents there are crossed flags, British and American, which is the sort of the heritage of the car. The car, being a special, the car was continually updated over the years with you know, state-of-the-art racing features, headers, a larger engine, and things like that. But you know, really a beautiful car. I had it. It participated in the Monterey Historics from the third race, the third event, third year event, which would have been 76, I believe, through the 41st. Didn't miss a single race. I drove it for the first, I don't know, 25, 30 years maybe, and then turned it over to Bernard Euclid, who is a more or less professional race car driver with a history of competition Jaguars, including a spectacular green and yellow E-Type, which was just one of the prettiest cars to ever see raced. You can see this photo is full of Ferraris. The 4 cars behind are all Ferraris, and you know, I think it's fair to say that the styling of this body was could compete with any of the Ferrari bodies. Okay, next, please.
Ron, can I ask you about that?
Yes.
That car, just real quick before you go on.
Sure.
I've never heard of that kind of a one-off situation where a car just springs out of nowhere. I mean, was this based on anything, or who designed it? What, you know, where'd you get the idea?
The mechanics, the chassis and mechanicals were done by the owner, Babe Saprizio, who ran a machine shop and piston company called Silverlight Pistons in Oakland or San Leandro or Hayward, I forgot which. And he's still around. He lives in Nevada now. So he did the mechanicals, and they're beautifully done. Hand-built tube and channel chassis. Most of the running gear was Jaguar, taken either initially from 120 or Mark 7. I think steering is, as I recall, is Mark 7. But as I say, over the years, it was continually upgraded, which was perfectly acceptable for specials. If you had a factory car, that was forbidden to change anything. But in the specials, you could upgrade them for safety and performance, and this was done that way.
Where'd the body come from?
The body was hand built in Hayward by Jack Hageman, who's passed away now, but did some of, and he's very well known in the bodybuilding, custom automobile body trade. His son is in business now doing the same thing. But Babe went to Jack and said, "This is what I want," and he said, "I want it to look Italian and British," and that's what happened. It's, as you can see from the front, it's very Ferrari, Mondial Monza, and from the side, it's more or less Ferrari, and in the back, which you can't see, it's very rounded and much more English, AC and Bristol.
You know what it kind of reminds me of is the Z8 BMW.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah.
Which of course was based on the 507, I think it was.
Yeah. Oh, one of the interesting stories is the car was, Babe wanted it red, and Hageman said, Hageman was so proud of it, he wanted to just polish the aluminum, which was done with a few cars of that period. And Babe said, no, it's got to be red. So for the first 5 years that I had it, I would take it to races, and people would look at it and say, "What kind of Ferrari is that?" and so I painted it British racing green with a little bit of American metal flake to accent the dual heritage. And no one ever asked, "What kind of Ferrari is that?" anymore.
Gorgeous car. So you still own it?
No, I sold it a month before the pandemic to a guy who was really excited about going racing. Well, needless to say, he has not gone racing because of the pandemic, but hopefully he will get to do that pretty soon. He's a collector who lives in Carson City, Nevada. And here's the bizarre part of the story. He's a next door neighbor of Saprizio, the guy who built the mechanicals. So it's a small world.
Well, if he gets tired of it, let us know.
Okay. I was really sad to see it go, but the main reason was in its last years during my ownership, it was driven by Bernard Euclid, who, as I said before, is a very skillful driver. And Bernard had a terrible accident. He was a nationally ranked sidecar motorcycle pilot, and he had a huge accident in I forgot where it was, but he broke half of the bones of his body, and the person in the sidecar was paralyzed. I don't know whether it was permanent or not. And so he sort of said, "That's it for me, no more racing." And I was too old to race at that point. So I turned it over to somebody who could do that.
Wow. You've got a lot of nerve. I'd never let a car like that go faster than 20 miles an hour.
Well, interestingly enough, in almost 40 years of racing, there was only one accident at Sears Point, now Sonoma Raceway, where in turn 9, the last turn, coming into the straight, yeah, 9, I think it is. Maybe it's 11 now. Some guy in a 55 Corvette named Noel just ran smack into the back of it and did a little reorganization of the rear end. But yeah, it's a beautiful car and I miss it.
Yeah, wow, congratulations.
Thanks. Okay, next one.
Oh, hang on. Whoops,
No,
sorry.
we
Got it?
want the, yeah, there we go.
There we go. Sorry.
Okay, so the Hagemans on the left, and you already heard the story about that. The one on the right is an XK 120 SM. And I assume you've never heard of an SM because this is the only one. And I'm the one who named it. The 120 M's were, the M stood for modified. The SM is seriously modified. This car is probably the nicest retro mod 120 I've ever seen, for sure. It's got a 3.5 liter tune port injection IROC Camaro Z V8, E-type rear end, limited slip rear end, 150S disc brakes all the way around, and it just is, you know, it's a spectacular car. It evokes mixed reaction from Jaguar purists, but I don't care because I love to drive it, and I've showed it a few times, and I think at a number of JAG Club events. But it is a wonderful car. Okay, next. Oh, there's one more story about this car. As you can see, this car was originally in the candy store. Les, if you could go back.
Sorry. Yeah,
it was originally in the candy store, as you could see. And then one day, someone said, "Can I see the engine?" And I raised the hood, and I was asked to remove the car from the candy store a week later by the head of the car committee because it was non-authentic. So it had a very short stay in the candy store. Next.
Laudodo Vino, is that correct?
No, now it's in a private garage that I have in Palo Alto, a block from my house.
Oh. Okay, all right.
Another view of the Hageman in racing trim with that amazing Buick, I think, behind it from the Academy of Art. Just an incredible juxtaposition of design. That's why I like the photo. Next. Okay, turning to an earlier area. This is one of my favorite photos because the middle car is my SS Jaguar, a 38 SS Jaguar drop-head coupe. And the reason I love this photo is it shows the difference in scale between the SS Jaguar and its sort of larger predecessors. The one on the left, I believe, is Ido Persini, and the other one is Hispano Suiza, or vice versa. I guess the left is Hispano, the right is ISO. Now it's a little farther back, and that accounts for some of the fact that it's smaller. But believe me, if it were up front, it would still look like 3/5 the size of the other two, which is what I liked about the car. It has the look of the all-out mid-30s, late 30s classics, but it comes in a much tighter package, and I've taken that car to a number of JAG Club events. Next. Yeah, there's a close-up of it. It lives on the road again classics in Morgan Hill, along with its twin, which is only 5 or 6.
Lost you, Ron.
Oh, can you hear me?
Hello, Ron.
Yeah.
They're doing a thing at the candy store, the JAG Club. Go right now.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's
It's
a video
working.
tour.
Is my audio still working?
Jag. Is Dave there?
You're
Hello?
fine, Ron. Somebody's just not muted.
Hello.
I think Steve needs to mute. And
Yeah.
Ron needs to unmute.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, I'm unmuted. So if you back up just one less, that last close-up of the SS. Well, that's okay. But you need to back up. Now you need to back up two. Well, you don't have to. I can speak to this. Anyway,
Who's running the slides, Les? You're muted, Les. Can't hear you.
That's the bonnet latch outside there on a flat floor, is that right?
yeah, let's talk. We can talk about this. I was just going to add that I have two of the SSs, and this is a story about Russell Head, who was the co-founder of the candy store. Yes. Whoops. Had it for a second. Anyway, this was the second SS that I acquired and still own. The first one was originally yellow, and I changed it to the original color, which was gunmetal. The two of them live down at On the Road Again Classics in Morgan Hill, and they're just a few chassis numbers apart. And this is a story about Russell, who's the co-founder of the candy store. He originally owned this car. It was restored in British Columbia. He originally owned it, and one day he said to me, "Look, you have one of these already. How'd you like another one?" And I said, "Sure." So he sold it to me, and so there are probably about 20 of these left, and I think I'm the only person in the world with two. Crazy enough to have two, but I think it's one of the most beautiful classic era designs ever. They basically patterned directly by William Lyons after the period Bentley, late 30s, 4¼ liter Bentley drop heads, but smaller and prettier, in my view. So now I've got two of these cars. Okay, that's it for that one. Let's go to the next one. Back one. Okay, so this is the car you saw in the video, and outside bonnet block, E-type, serial number 875045, which means it was the 45th. The first three digits in the E-type range define the body style. So 875 was a left-hand drive OTC roadster. Except for the very first show cars, like the Geneva show cars or the New York show cars, almost all of the production of Jaguar was for the American market. And so the 875 series were really the first cars that came out. And it's very confusing. The serial number thing is very confusing with Jaguars, because people mistakenly say, oh, this car is number 042 or 037. And unless you know the first three numbers, it doesn't tell you much, because the 875s were really the only ones with the outside bonnet block. In other words, the American version. There were 7 or 8 fixed head coupes made for the English market. But I don't think any outside bonnet block right-hand drives were made, except the very early cars. And a few of them were made for very famous race car drivers like Briggs Cunningham and a lot of the British drivers. So that's the story with the outside bonnet lock. They're almost all American deliveries, except for the show cars. The rendering on the right is an interesting story. Every year, the candy store invites the Academy of Art to have students prepare new designs, typically new designs of old cars. And they have a contest, and then the candy store members choose the winner. This was not the winner, but I liked it, so I bought a rendering. And later, the Academy of Art, the next semester, the students turned the rendering into a 3/5 scale model. And so I also bought the scale model, which doesn't appear in this photo, but you can see this was the conception of the young design student about what an E-Type would look like today or several years ago when this was done. And obviously, if you compare it to an F-Type, you can see it's similar, but still very, very different.
Hey, Ron,
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead, please.
Okay, I just wanted to maybe interject something that I thought was interesting. Looking at that rendering, I have a rendering of some design work where we have an artist who took the XJ13 and morphed it through some drawings into the I can't even remember the name of this. Oh, it's a CX75, I think it is.
Oh yeah. Oh, beautiful. Yeah.
Can I do a screen share and show you what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
All right, let's see. Oh, it's disabled right now.
Yeah, CX75 is beautiful. It was featured in one of the James Bond films.
Yeah. Well, the Zoom is not letting me do the screen share, but I could share this later with you if you want.
Yeah, great. Okay, and I think we're up to the very last one more, and that's sort of the final shot. So I thought a rear end would be the right way to end. This is what it looks like in the back, and this is a nice view because it shows how different the E-Type looks with the original hardtop. There is a soft top fold down underneath, which after it was installed has never been put up because I just love the look with the removable hardtop. Originally they were all black and most of them stayed black, but a lot of people painted them body color. They didn't come out till in the 875 series, they didn't come out until I think 030 something. So this is one of the first ones with the factory hardtop. And that's it for me. Les, any closing comments, Les?
You're muted, Les.
There we go. All right. Sorry, I had a problem there. I got that many tsunami warnings. My phone, I was connected through the phone. My phone hung up. That's why that little bit of kerfuffling backwards and forwards in the middle there. So I apologise, Ron. Scott, I made you co-host, so I think you may be able to share now.
Oh, okay. Let me find this one more time. Give me 1 second here. I just have to open a folder.
Yeah.
Okay, here we are. XJ13 history. So screen share. Wait a minute.
Good luck you.
I got to do one more thing. I'm not too good on Zoom. So, all right, let's try it.
Yeah,
There we go.
all right.
Is that showing up?
Yep, it does.
Yeah, so you see the XJ13 on the top, the CX75 below, and then the drawings where I guess they show the evolution.
Yeah.
Anyway, just found that interesting based on what you were showing in that that clip with the E-Type.
Yeah, well, CX75 was the kind of electric well, it was electric powered car, but it had a turbine for the power source, and that was in one of the Bond movies. But they never went on and made that into a. Never took the prototype any further. But it's a stunning looking car. So
You
Yeah.
know, the other prototype that they never implemented was the XK 180, which I thought
yeah.
was one of the most beautiful body designs ever created.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think we saw the XK 180 when we did our tour of the UK, and went round the British Auto Museum there, which where Jaguar had donated most of their cars to, and it was really a beautiful car.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Jaguar always excelled in design, whether in the 30s or in the 50s.
Yeah, it was like the XJ 220. I mean, it
Oh
was
yeah,
a
yeah,
beautiful car, but then they didn't. They do these prototypes and don't expect people to order them.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Ron. I appreciate that. I hope we hope people found the candy store video an interesting introduction to Ron's talk. So I apologise again for the quality and my chuckles in the background. I must remember in future the cameraman should stay silent, but. I do appreciate everybody tuning in, and hopefully you've enjoyed this. And we will put what I will do is if with your permission, Ron, I'll edit your slides into the end of the video and then post it on YouTube.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's great.
And for anybody who's interested on YouTube, we've been posting quite a few old Jaguar training videos of which are kind of interesting as period pieces. Unfortunately, they're all late 70s, 80s, but they're interesting. And then we've put a playlist in wherever I find a Jaguar related video on YouTube. We added to that playlist, so that playlist's getting quite long now, and it's a quick way to go find any Jaguar related material, and that's on the JCNA YouTube channel. Okay, are there any other questions that you've got for Ron, or any comments today? Scott's got a question.
So Les, on that YouTube channel, do you want to send around a link to that maybe to the members? And
I'll do that. Yeah.
because I don't always find what I'm supposed to be looking for when I try to find stuff on the web. And then Ron, I had a question, just a personal personal interest. Is this fellow Colin with his Ferrari race cars still a member down at the candy store? I can't remember Colin's last name, but
Oh,
he lives-
sure. He's the Formula One guy.
yeah, he lives in Marin, and
Yeah, he's there. He's got Niki Lauda's
Right.
Ferrari Formula One and one other Formula car there. Yeah,
So
he's
he's-
very active. Very active.
still hanging out with that. Okay. Yeah, I met him a couple of times, and he actually invited us down to an event down there years ago, and got to
You know,
see cars.
I probably shouldn't say this, but it's interesting that how the membership of the candy store has changed over the years. Initially, they were just diehard car guys, just 100%. And then now that's still a significant component, but it's also
Down.
Silicon Valley IPO guys.
Right. Yeah, who don't know what else to do with their money.
That's right. That's right. But and it's it's a good investment.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, there are far worse ways to go, for sure.
Yeah.
So I heard the story that Colin was asked if he would be willing to let them use his Niki Lauda Ferrari race car to do the filming for Ford versus Ferrari, and he said no thanks.
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
No, I didn't hear that story. That's very interesting.
Yeah, I don't want to say a whole lot more than that, because I don't know how much of this is common knowledge, but
Yeah.
he was approached because they were doing a story about Niki Lauda and they wanted to have the car, and he evidently did not want to take whatever risks were involved in. This would have involved shipping the car to Italy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And with all that entailed, and he was not interested, and so they ended up building replicas, I think,
Yeah.
to use in the filming. And the guy who built the replicas is the guy who built my car, this fellow Fran Hall over in Detroit, who has race car replicas.
Uh-huh.
So
Well,
that's
I saw the Lauda Ferrari race at Long Beach Grand Prix, and it was a spectacular car, really.
really wow. Yeah.
Let me say one more interesting short historical story about E-types. So when Sir William sent over the very first 875 cars to the U.S., other than the show cars, so-called customer cars, although they were really prototypes, he imposed an embargo on the dealers and said, you shall not sell this car for 3 months. You can put it in the front window, but you can't sell it, because we're going to use this to build the brand and build the demand. So one of the cars goes to LA to Hoffman or Hornberg, and Hornberg puts it in the front window, and Frank Sinatra walks in and he says, I want that car. And the salesman says, I'm sorry, it's not for sale. And Sinatra says, do you know who I am? And the salesman says, yes, Mr. Sinatra, I know who you are, and it's still not for sale. And Sinatra storms out. It's a great story.
Yeah.
Only in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, this was fun, you guys.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Right. Well, yeah. Thank you for joining, everybody. Thank you, Scott. Love to see your car again when we're back on the road. And
So do I.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Are there
I
any-
have a question.
Sure.
I have a question for John Swenson. Did you get your new car?
Can't hear you, John.
Don, you're muted.
Yes, I believe it's sleeping in the garage.
You're
Tell
not
us
sure?
about it.
Well, it's beyond my ability to it's a British car, large British car, made by the people at Volkswagen. It's a 15 Flying Spur with 10,000 miles.
Oh, wow.
So, it's not a Jaguar, but it's a
it's
British.
Rolls
I'm just trying to keep up with the Kilburns, you know.
Yeah.
It's going on its first rally tomorrow.
That's great.
Oh, that'd be great.
Super. Thank you.
All right.
Can I pipe in a little bit and tell you something about Colin Bach?
Oh, that's right. Colin Bach. That was his name.
Colin Bach, yeah, he's really a connected guy with Ferrari. And we had a event down there for the Ferrari Club, the candy store, and they brought over Enzo Ferrari's personal secretary. He's still alive. And he was over there and told us a bunch of great stories about, how Ferrari dealt with the drivers and different stories about the drivers themselves. And it was really a fun, interesting evening we spent with her down there. But
Wow.
he's a connected guy. He can do anything he wants with Ferrari.
From what I understand, he's the first guy that Ferrari ever sold a car to.
I
I
don't
mean,
think,
yeah, I mean, a race car, I mean, they've got their collection of vintage race cars, and
Uh.
he wanted that Nicky Lauda car, and they said, well, sorry, this is ours. And he said, you really got to sell me that car. And he just kept going and kept going. And finally they let him buy the car.
yeah, it was a big deal to get it over here too. He's telling a story about that, the shipping, everything. It was a long drawn out process, but he finally got it. So that's probably why he didn't want to send it back for the
I was
movie.
going to say that's probably why he didn't want to ship it back. So does Colin have a modern car, or, like a real driver car, passenger car?
I'm sure he does, but I don't know what it is.
I
And
mean,
Colin, before the pandemic would go to most, if not all, of the Formula One races around the world.
really?
So he was really connected with Bernie Ecclestone and the whole F1 movement.
Yeah, he's got a lot of friends over there, and that goes to all the events and gets in where nobody else can.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. We got into in 2004. We were over there, and we got into the Ferrari pits on Friday at Monza, right in the garage with Schumacher and John Todd, talking to him, and that was a good experience too.
Well, I used to love Long Beach. I went to every Long Beach race, and the idea of driving through the streets. Well, and San Jose had one, but mostly Long Beach. That was just exciting. It was like a trip back through history.
Yeah.
I used to watch them warm up for that race because I had an office in Long Beach on the 8th floor, looking straight down on the third corner or something, right there by the dock. That's about as close to racing as I ever got.
At the time, I had Ferraris. I had two old 212 Ferraris, 52 and 53, and so I joined the Ferrari club, and the Ferrari club had seats for the Long Beach Grand Prix at the end of the Queen straightaway, before the hairpin. And after 2 days of racing, I couldn't hear anything for a week because they're all gearing down for the hairpin, and all you hear is this blast, and it's deafening, but wonderful at the same time.
Oh yeah, I can remember parking off in the street somewhere and walking into the race area, and you could hear the cars going through the buildings, and they'd echo through there, and you just
yeah,
pretty cool. And we saw Fangio driving one of the old 300 SLRs.
Oh yeah,
Fishing thing too, and he was running around in that. It's pretty neat. Mario was down there.
Yeah.
It's a great event. When I lived in Orange County, I used to go there every year. I used to love it.
Yeah, it really was.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we've got just up on an hour and a quarter. I hope everybody enjoyed this, and if you got any feedback or things that you'd like us to do similarly, please let us know. And we appreciate everybody's time on a Saturday morning. Thank you.
Yeah, let me just as I was getting ready for this, I thought it'd be interesting to do a session on the pre-war cars. 31 to 40, because things were very Jaguar. Sir William really was very innovative. His whole idea was to build a Bentley for a third of the price, and of course he never made it to Bentley quality, but he came pretty close.
Yeah.